Welcome to the Prophecy Club. This is part of what I said in the sermon yesterday, which, by the way, I guess I should take a second and invite you. If you are in the DFW area, or if you're ever going to be in the DFW area, please consider stopping by and visiting us at Spirit of Prophecy Church. Friday night Bible study is starting this Friday evening at 6:30, and then our normal Sunday service begins at 9:30 with adult Bible study, and then the regular worship starts at 10:30. We recommend you come in about 10:15, walk into coffee and donuts. Come and visit us several times and see if this is the kind of church you think you could live with. Anyway, so my first question to get to our point today is, how many of you out there listening really want to see sevenfold miracles begin to hit in your face, wherever you live, in your neighborhood? In other words, what Pastor Massey was told is not going to be double portion miracles, it's going to be sevenfold miracles. The four angels that spoke to Sundar Selvaraj said that the angels, meaning no point in history has anyone seen the kind of miracles that we're about to see. So my first question is, would you like to see those kind of miracles? Not just see them as in observe them on TV, but I mean be a part, be in the room, be in the stadium, whatever it is, where those kind of miracles could take place in your life. So would you like to be a part of those, maybe that's the way to say it, those sevenfold miracles? So, would you like to be a part? Would you like to see sevenfold miracles come to America? Second question, even more important. Do you think that those kind of miracles are going to arrive with America in its current climate or current attitude? Or I should say, current state of sin. Now you remember, and I promise I'm telling the truth, have no reason to lie here. I mean, God's listening, right? August 8th, 2015, and I looked up the words to make certain I'm quoting myself correctly. What I heard was, this is the time of miracles. This is the time of miracles. Then what he downloaded in my heart, what I got a revelation on is that as the judgment hits, please hear this is the point of the broadcast, it's going to be real important. As the judgment hits, God is going to show up with miracles. He's going to meet the devil step for step, inch for inch, pound for pound, everything he does. Just like when the Antichrist and the false prophet are in the Holy of Holies, God has got Moses and John the Revelator, the two witnesses, down in the streets of Jerusalem. Everything the devil does, God is going to meet him. He is not going to give him the victory. He is not going to get the victory. Jesus is going to get the victory. And it shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. The kingdom that Jesus sets up will destroy all of the other kingdoms. Then was the brass, the iron, the clay, the silver and the gold broken to pieces together, became as the chaff of the summer threshing floor, and the wind carried them away, and there was found no place for them. Those other kingdoms are all destroyed. The only kingdom that is left is the kingdom of Jesus. Now, back to our question. Sevenfold miracles. So, do we want to see sevenfold miracles? Do you think that the attitude in America is going to have to change? Well, again, what I was told is as the judgment hits, so will the miracles. Okay, so what's the judgment? It's got to be some kind of trouble. Okay, so then what could bring the trouble? Well, let's point out a couple of things. Part of this you've heard, part of this you have not heard. All right, first of all, let's talk about indictments. Now, back in November of 2017, Jeff Sessions, I don't think that Jeff Sessions is asleep at the wheel. As a matter of fact, I have been watching this guy Q. And the more I read Q, the more I think it is someone inside the White House. I do not think it's Donald Trump, but I think it is someone that has access to Donald Trump. And many of the postings are placed with the consulting and with the consent of Donald Trump. It doesn't sound like Donald Trump, but it does sound like it's someone very close to him. Now, he says that this guy Huber was appointed by Jeff Sessions back in November 2017. Now, prior to November 2017, the average number of sealed indictments for years is anywhere from 100 to 350 indictments. Well, at last count, there's now 51,000, and I believe the number is 707, sealed indictments. Now, you understand that, and I read this, I talked about this in a broadcast here, I guess, a week ago, that this guy Huber has 760, quote, dogged investigators. And probably what is happening is he is probably filing all of these sealed indictments. What's a sealed indictment? It means that there is basically an arrest warrant out for you, and at the right time, at any time they choose the choosing of their time, they can arrest you. So we got rumor on the street. I'll say it that way. Rumor on the street is they have already arrested some of the 20,000 lower level ones, and it's just been very quiet, very subtle. The news media has cooperated and kept it out of the news media, and you'd say, well, why would the left and the right cooperate with it? This is just a guess, but my guess is that no one wants to admit that this is the draining of the swamp, that the plug has been pulled, and the swamp is in the process of being drilled or drained. No one wants to admit that. Okay, so what is going to happen? You got to ask yourself a question. What is going to happen when some other 30,000, now you got to assume that some of these are going to be some of the top ones. Matter of fact, Q says RR is going to be arrested. Well, most people believe that RR is Rod Rosenstein. That's the guy that Jeff Sessions appointed to be the deputy director as he had recused himself from Russia. And I don't think that that was an accident. I think that was a plot. I think that was a plan in Trump and Sessions cooperating together to make this big roundup. Now, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let a thing be established. The thing that the Prophecy Club can bring to the table that maybe very few, if any, can bring to the table is, what do the prophets say? Now, I've quoted this many times, so I'm not going into the detail or we'll miss the point today. But as you recall, Terry Bennett said that there's going to be, he said you'd call it a coup, but it's going to be to help America. The military is going to have to step in and take over the federal government, and the running of the nation is going to have to come down to the state level. To me, that sounds like some 30,000 top-level people like Hillary Rodham Clinton and her husband buddy, Bill Clinton, that, of course, was only just talking about the grandchildren as he was in the plane on the tarmac talking to Loretta Lynch. In my opinion, he was probably on his hands and knees begging Loretta Lynch not to indict Hillary. Again, that's probably, we don't know that that's for certain or not. So then we also have the respite. So Sundar Selvaraj was told by the four angels that God had given America a respite. What's a respite? Now, I didn't even know. I never even heard the name before. I didn't know the word. Matter of fact, perhaps you remember the first time I said it on the radio, I pronounced it respite. I kindly got a couple of emails saying, Brother Stan, you don't pronounce that word respite. You pronounce it respite. So I got my pronunciation corrected, but that's fine. The point is, it's a brief pause from something very uncomfortable. What's the uncomfortable? We all know that America has judgment placed upon it, and that judgment is not going to be removed. Means that America will fall. Revelation 18 and the other 5 or 6 chapters talking about America will come to pass. But I believe that Trump is our respite. Trump is our opportunity to heal ourselves. Jeremiah 51 verse 9 says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let every man return into his own country. Now that first phrase is the point. We would have healed Babylon. I believe that Trump is what God is using to try to drain the swamp, to try to get America to heal, but the left and the Antifa guys and the other protesters and the just haters out there simply will not heal America. So God is going to send the Russian nukes to take America out. But the next question becomes, how soon? All right, well, you remember that Shane Warren saw in the vision, he saw Russia and Iran, and he said he saw some other nations in there, and they were plotting to bring down the dollar. And that when they plotted to bring down the dollar and started selling oil for gold, that would kill the dollar and that would bring America's financial strength down. Well, what just happened last week? Just last week, we saw Iran and Russia and Turkey have a meeting. Well, what they talk about? Well, of course, you and I aren't going to know that, but what we can do is watch what happened. The very next day, Russia teamed up with Syria, and they went down and they've been bombing this Idlib city, which is supposed to be having about 2 million people in it. So apparently, Iran, Russia, and Turkey are kissing cousins now. They are best buddies. And of course, Turkey has become very Islamic. Remember that in Turkey there was a plot to overthrow Erdogan, the president of Turkey, but the plot failed. And probably what was happening, it was the good guys trying to overthrow the Muslim government, but they were unsuccessful. So as a result, Turkey has come more Muslim. Well, now, why does that fit in with Bible prophecy? You go to Ezekiel 38 and 39, and it gives you a list of the nations that come down to attack Israel for Armageddon, and that's right, Turkey is on the list. So, at Armageddon, which, and that's another thing we got to talk about, just how soon, which may be, please, I'm not setting dates, okay, it may be as soon as 2028, if it is. I'm not setting a date, but if it is, that means that all of the alignment of the nations we are going to see are going to quickly come in alignment. So Turkey siding up against Israel is prophecy. It's falling in line perfectly. And it may very well be that we are about to see Iran start selling oil for gold. And then, Turkey's already said they're against America. They are going to try to go around the dollar. He's openly said that. There's not a question about it. So that puts Turkey and Iran already trying to go around the dollar. Now, if Russia does that, that's a big problem. If China does it, the dollar may very well be dead. Well, what happened? We just saw Iran got the first round of sanctions because Trump canceled the Iran deal. But starting November the 4th, there's a second round of sanctions. And those sanctions specifically is trying to cut off Iran's oil sales. Trump has openly said he wants to cut off Iran's oil sales. Well, what is that pushing them to do? That's pushing Iran to begin to look. Turkey's primary source of income is oil. They have to sell oil. So if they cannot sell oil using U.S. dollars, you tell me, what does that sound to you like would probably be the next solution? Answer, selling oil for gold. Who would buy it? Turkey has already announced that they would. And who knows, maybe China. Now, Russia doesn't need oil, but Russia starts selling oil for gold. And of course, we've had a lot of sanctions on Russia, too. I mean, Russia is not our friend. The prophets say that Russia is going to attack us. Remember, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack us. So then we see that Trump, now let's talk about Israel for a second. Trump has just cut off funding to the Palestinians. Well, why is that important? Well, you remember the way that World War III starts is when the Arab countries come down to attack Israel. And what were the signs leading up to that? Omar ushers in Palestinian state. Wait a minute, what? Omar ushers in Palestinian state? Could it be? The thing that starts World War III is when they come down to attack Israel. But probably the thing that gets that, well, here, let me finish that. Omar ushers in Palestinian state. 2, catastrophe hits America. 3, one of America's greatest times of need. 4, Israel refuses help to America. 5, Israel is attacked. America sends troops. By the way, I got to give you a disclaimer. This is not necessarily the order that these headlines will occur. This is, in my opinion, the order that they will occur. Again, they may not occur in this order, so keep that in mind. 6, chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice, quoting Dimitri Duduman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution started by the communists. So, the thing we watch for is when Israel give the Palestinians a state. Now, as long as America doesn't twist Israel's arm, if we're out of the negotiation and Israel wants to give the Palestinians a state, that's their business. But if America twists Israel's arm, then God has said, what was it, 6 different people? Let me look at my notes here. Yeah. 6 different people saw America split into 2 pieces. 3 people saw large chunks of California fall into the ocean, but 9 people saw that America was split because she split Israel. So Trump right now has cut off this funding to the Palestinians. My opinion, I think it should have been done a long time ago. I think it's a good idea. But that could bring the Palestinians to the negotiating table. And Trump has openly said that that is his goal. That is the reason he is cutting off their funding, trying to get them to the negotiating table. So what does this mean? It means, brothers and sisters, that we could see the dollar begin to fall. That would bring us trouble. We could see that there is a Palestinian state given. And if America is twisting Israel's arm, all of a sudden that would fulfill the first headline Omer ushers in Palestinian state. We see one of those headlines fulfilled, and all of a sudden stick a fork in us. We're done. Well, I tell you what, if one of those headlines gets fulfilled, as far as me and my family, we're going to be packing. We're going to be packing, putting everything up for sale, and we're going to be moving, and it's probably going to be to Israel. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute. You want to move to Israel, and you know that the Antichrist is going to be there? You know that the Arabs are going to attack? Yep, because Israel is going to be the best place to live if you want to survive the tribulation. Now, I personally don't. I want to be at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Marriage supper of the Lamb takes place on the last Pentecost. That's in my book, which we will talk about at the right time, but for right now, I'll just kind of slide that in there. Anyway, let's go on. So our question today is, what could cause the trouble? What could be the judgment that could be bringing the 7-fold miracles? Trump cutting off Palestinians is heading to a Palestinian state. Means that they're working on getting peace in Israel right now. And then, of course, we had Ephraim Rodriguez come in and say that a meteor would hit near Mona Island on Puerto Rico. I mean, we talked about all that. And that it would split America in 2. All right, but then we also have Terry Bennett says that we're going to be getting a new currency. And he says at least one. That's what he says. So some people think that that is getting closer and closer. If we get a new currency, is that going to cause financial problems? Is that going to cause the judgment? Is that going to cause trouble? Look, I don't know when this is going to happen, but there are people out there that are guessing. I'm not naming names, but there are people. I'll say this. I was in a private conversation with someone this past week. Not going to tell you the name. He said he thought that we would see trouble in America in the next 90 days. Normally, we would not expect to see any trouble before any kind of an election because nobody wants to rock the boat. Everybody wants to, they don't want to get people scared. They don't want to get them upset. They want them to go to the polls and vote. But there's a lot of things Trump has done differently than any other president. So it may very well be that we are about to see another 30,000 sealed indictments. We are about to see people, top leadership in America, rounded up, taken off to Gitmo or to Atoll Islands or off to Diego Garcia, these prison islands where they will be standing trial before a military tribunal, and they will not have all of their rights and all of their fancy lawyers to get them out of prison. Would that cause trouble? It could. Could a new currency coming out causing the dollar to fall, could that cause problems? It could. Could Israel splitting Israel, and then, of course, a meteor hitting and splitting America, could that cause the trouble? Is that the thing that we're looking for? Or are we about to see the Iran start selling oil for gold? You see, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of things on our plate that are heading toward the judgment, heading toward trouble. And that's all it takes. We start seeing that trouble show up, and all of a sudden, boom, God comes out of the closet. Now, when I say that, I mean that in a very respectful way. I talked to Pastor Massey. Pastor Massey just got back here a few months ago, and he was speaking to 10,000 people in Pakistan. I said, brother, how'd you get 10,000 people? I said, we're doing good to get 100, 150 people at Prophecy Club meetings these days. How'd you get 10,000 people? He said, because people in Pakistan are hungry. And he said, and miracles were all over the place. Healings left and right. And I said, well, how come we don't see that in America? And he said, because America's not hungry. Well, I'm going to tell you what Leslie said, and I think she's right. She says, because America has her miracle healing. We have the best medicals in the world, the most high technology, the instruments, the surgeries. We have miracles in healing already, and it is our wonderful medical system, our doctors, our nurses, things like that. We have our miracles, and so it's going to take something beyond that. You get the attention of God, to get God to be able to pull his miracles out. All right, now let's talk about timing. 2020, as I've talked about, is 400 years since the Mayflower Compact was signed, November the 11th of 1620. Could it be that God's hand will be removed after 400 years? As Shane Warren said, and I agree with him, that there is a 400-year judgment cycle, and he said, not me, Shane Warren said that America's judgment will arrive in 2021. Well, brothers and sisters, 2020 is only 15 months away. So could we see trouble in the next 90 days? Sure could. Could it be that maybe after the elections, maybe the latter part of this year, maybe the first part of 2019, maybe we'll begin to see trouble. Maybe all of a sudden, because the judgment is hitting, we will begin to see the sevenfold miracles. 2020 is 400 years from the Mayflower Compact, but 2020 is also 40 years from when God spoke judgment on America to Dimitri Duduman. He spoke that in 1980. Add 40 years, you come up to 2020. Then we also have the Psalm 20:10 prophecy. If that prophecy is saying that Israel will only exist 80 years, this is Israel's 70th year. So if Israel only exists for 80 years, that would put Israel concluding in 2028, which just happens to be, now, while Terry did not say this directly, I'm not trying to put words in Terry Bennett's mouth, but he did say that the tribulation starts in 2022. If the tribulation starts in 2022 and it lasts for 7 years, do the math. That comes up to 2028. Now, I didn't set a date. I did not say that Jesus is going to return in 2028. Let me say it again. I did not say the tribulation starts in 2022. I did not say that Jesus returns in 2028. However, increasingly, things are lining up to where that could, I'm not setting a date, it could be a very realistic possibility. I'm not ready to say that we're there yet. But if we see trouble start here over the next 12, 18, 24, 36 months, somewhere in that ballpark, then brothers and sisters, we got to raise our eyebrows. We got to start saying, you know what? Maybe America's fall is in 2021. Maybe Jesus does return in 2028. Maybe the tribulation does start in 2022, just like Terry Bennett said. Okay, so let's try to summarize this. Right after the election, we could see the roundup. But we could see the roundup of these 30,000 dastardly deeds these people have done, maybe even before the election. We also could see a new currency come out real soon. And then I hadn't even talked about the trade agreements. Let's talk about the trade agreements for a minute. Okay, so Britain has said, yes, we'll cooperate. We want to trade with America. UK has said, yes, we'll cooperate. We want to do business with America. Then Mexico just kissed and made up. They said, yes, we also want to do business with Mexico. And you don't have to worry about Canada. Canada, look, we are the consumer. I mean, just like the Bible says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth the merchandise anymore. And it gives a list of the merchandise because we are the nation that buys everybody's goods. They got to do business with it. They don't have a choice. Canada doesn't have a choice. EU, China, they don't have a choice. Trump is right. We do have all the cards. We are the ones that buy all the products. But here's the point. If our currency were to collapse, All of a sudden we see Canada says, no, I'm not coming to the table. The EU says, no, I'm not going to. China decides that they're going to not cooperate. Instead, they slap tariffs on us all over, and they're going to be uncooperative. And then, who knows? All of a sudden, things begin to get very expensive. The indictments hit. The whole head of America's leadership that's evil is cut off. Then Israel decides that they're going to have their arm twisted enough. Trump twists their arm. Israel gives the Palestinians a state. All of a sudden, God says, okay, I've had enough. He sends the meteor. The meteor hits the East Coast. Anywhere from 200 to 400 foot high, the tsunami hits the East Coast. What would that do to the East Coast? The tsunami goes inland anywhere from 20 to 25 miles inland. That would devastate the East Coast. Then where the meteor hit goes up the Mississippi River Valley all the way up to the Great Lakes, splitting America in half. What would that do? Can you see that we have a lot of things that could bring the judgment, and the judgment could arrive with the sevenfold miracles? Now, with that in mind, can you see, with that much judgment hitting America, can you see where sevenfold miracles of God are needed, necessary, and I'll even say almost required? If his people are going to have enough time, whose names are written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, if those people that right now are running and playing and partying, and they don't want to go to church, they don't want to hear about Jesus, they don't believe none of this stuff, maybe some of those are college professors that right now are spitting on the name of Jesus, but their name is in the book of life because God knows from the foundation of the world who is going to accept him, and they need some more time. Maybe God's giving us more time with a respite, but maybe that time is running up. Maybe we're about to see judgment. Maybe we're about to see sevenfold miracles. So where are we? At last check, we're about $8,000 short on getting Bree Keaton her $26,850. I need to check because we may be getting pretty close to that. But remember, Prophecy Club, we still need your support too, brothers and sisters. So remember to support both of them. Hey, look, you can't take it with you. God is going to bless you. Lord, bless the people that bless your ministries, especially the ones that cannot pay you back, like the Pygmies and like Prophecy Club and people like that. Bless them, hear their prayers, and save their families. Hear their prayers where they're praying for their families that need to be saved, the moms, dads, brothers, sisters, their co-workers. Hear those prayers. And Lord, bless them also financially, but also when your miracles start, have the sevenfold miracles show up in their lives and in their families and their businesses. And when you start visiting with angels visits and audible voices, Lord, remember them and bring your angels, bring your audible voices into their lives also, because they've sowed when it wasn't easy to sow, and they believe you. And also, Lord, because they believed you, like Daniel, because he believed his God, that God took care of them. Lord, take care of them. Take care of them financially. Take care of them family. Take care of them in the time ahead. Take care of them in the time of the tribulation. In Jesus' name. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Get my last two DVDs, Revelations on Revelation and Kings and Priests, both of them, 3 DVDs for a gift of just $40 at prophecyclub.com. Revelations on Revelation, 12 Revelations on Revelation, 12 tips on memorizing Scripture. Jesus is not the primary message of Revelation. What is? My biggest revelation, the morning star, and lots more. And Kings and Priests, what's the third woe? Who are the nations? Are all the saints kings and priests, or some kings, some priests? What is the difference between kings and priests? And much more. Both DVDs, gift of $40 at prophecyclub.com. Revelations on Revelation, Kings and Priests. prophecyclub.com, gift of $40. God will bless you. Go visit watchprophecyclub.com, where you can watch over 160 Prophecy Club titles for an introductory monthly recurring subscription of just $20 a month, or a yearly subscription for $200. The early $200 subscription is the best deal because it locks in your rate against increases in monthly subscriptions. That's watchprophecyclub.com. You'll love the format. It's easy to watch, and the quality is great. Watchprophecyclub.com. Watchprophecyclub.com. prophetic.com. Go check it out today.